So I would like to begin this reflection with a short text. I haven't read this, I think, since that retreat that we were in together 8 years ago. So it's really old now. It's like parchment, the Dharma parchment. And it's by an Irish Jesuit priest called Pádraig Ó Tuama. So every morning I sit, I kneel, waiting, making friends with the habit of listening, hoping that I'm being listened to. I say hello to my chaos, my unmade decisions, my unmade bed, my desire and my trouble. I recognize and greet my burdens, my luck, my controlled and uncontrollable stories, my unfolding story, my unloved body, my own love, my own body. I greet the things I think will happen, and I say hello to everything I do not know about the day. I greet my own small world, and I hope that I can meet the bigger world that day. I greet my story during the day, and hope that I forget my story during the day, and hope that I can hear some stories and greet some surprising stories during the long day ahead. I greet God, and I greet the God who is more God than the God I greet. Hello to you all, I say, as the sun rises above the chimneys of North Belfast. Hello. I choose this poem for the many people who come to me in one-to-ones where there's some story and difficulty around perfectionism and the kind of striving attitude that we often bring to meditation, or often the attitude that we come to our life with. We often bring that attitude into meditation so we can recognize it. What we recognize about how we deal with life, oh, that's how I'm meditating. So that can be a very interesting thing to notice. But especially around perfectionism and striving, in the older Buddhist scriptures and writings and comments that go back a few thousand years and stuff, not the actual writing, but what we've received, there's often the word used to strive. And I wonder about that translation. That the Buddha sat down and he strived and he strived and he strived. I wonder about the use of that word, striving, which is a very driven type of word. And I don't wonder about the effects of striving in our meditation at all. I don't think it really works, So as I was speaking earlier about how much effort we put in, tight, too loose, like that driving our meditation, we can feel the effects of it as we can feel the effects of that kind of energy in our life. The amount of pressure we put on ourselves to live up to often imagined standards, to please other people, to fit in, to be something we think someone else wants us to be, or whatever. And that's what I love about that poem, no? That he greets, every morning he gets up and he greets his unmade bed. He greets his own chaos. He greets all of the uncontrollable things that are going to happen in the day, all of the uncertainty. And this is where I've really benefited so much from deep rest meditation, where we take the striving out of the meditation. We take that energy of, I'm going to endure and sit through everything. We just can release that. And since we've begun this retreat, I think I've said it so many times to people in one-to-ones already, to relax with that sense of needing a standard and a perfectionism and trying too hard. And what I've found wonderful about this possibility of just lying down is that, as we know, in meditation, tensions come up because we haven't given attention to a lot of aspects, emotional aspects, psychological aspects, psycho-spiritual, whatever. And then they start bubbling up in the meditation. It's a little bit of a pressure cooker. So in this pressure cooker, when we can lie down and let at least the body tensions that come with the pressure cooker run out, not be there. So we're not holding this posture of, I'm the really organized, together, in control, perfect person. Scrap that, When we lie down, we're taking the I out of the meditation. We're taking that meanness. We're taking the ego out. We can also do that sitting up. Hey, for sure. We can do it standing. We can do it walking. And I invite you to do that, to feel into that strong sense of self, letting go. That no need to be someone special in silence on retreat. But it's easier lying down. So some people are asking, but if I fall asleep during meditation lying down, because you're supposed to be sitting up and waking up and all of this, in the way that we can transpose that alertness, that waking up to our lying down meditation, we can transpose the energy that comes from gathering ourselves to a relaxed lying down as well. And then we can transpose that non-striving, non-trying so hard to our sitting meditation, our walking meditation. Because we've had a taste of it lying down. We know what it feels like. And then it doesn't matter how we do it anymore. We can do it sitting as well. Does that make sense? Sure? Not sure? Shall I say that bit again? So as we take the too much effort and the tendency for there to be a growing sense of me, the meditator, as a solid being in sitting meditation, we lie down and there's less physical issues going on. And meditation can happen naturally. But then that meditation can happen naturally, can be transposed into our sitting meditation because we've got a taste of it lying down. And we could meditate for 20, 30, 40 years in a control freak way. We could get really good at being a very calm person. who doesn't have a chaotic life. It's really organized and super mindful, you know what I mean? You could get really good at that as a control trip, where our life is a little bit softer, a bit easier, because we've got a bit more balance. But we wouldn't be freeing ourselves from a sense of self, a sense of substantial contractedness in our identity. So I think that maybe some people would say, oh, you shouldn't say that kind of thing to beginners, you know. But I'm like, no, I want to say it to people who are starting out in meditation so that they don't meditate for 40 years for no reason and just end up with a meditator's ego. But they're not actually getting free because their life's a bit improved. They feel a bit more stable, but welcome the chaos as well. Welcoming what's happening, but from something that we can do without tensing up more, without adding to the tensions. And I did quite a few years of meditation until one day the penny dropped that I was nourishing the meditator's ego, you know. And I thought, now I'm in the club of the people who are a little bit sorted in life, and, you know, I can do this meditation thing. I can stay still for 45 minutes, you know. And some things are clearer in how I make decisions and things like that. But what am I building? What am I building here? In the sense of self, of who I am. A self-perception that, like feeding something that's false, actually. So part of deep rest meditation is really giving that opportunity to let go, to let that melt. To really deeply be able to relax so that we find meditation without doing meditation. So we're taking the doing out. We're taking the I out of meditation. And then we go, oh, actually it feels quite natural. Oh, it's so easy. Because we're not trying to control everything. And so many people have said to me, I've tried meditation, but I keep thinking and I keep having this other stuff going on. And it's like, yeah, because you're not in control. It's impersonal. The mind, as the rest of us, has a certain amount of impersonality to it. Otherwise, we could control everything. But life is uncertain. Our human lives are surprises. Moment by moment surprises. So we can give good conditions for meditation, but we can't control the outcome. That's why we can't make promises. Come to a retreat and you will feel unstressed and zen. You know, it's not necessarily. Sometimes, I have a retreat place in the south of France, and sometimes I have some big retreats in the summer, and at the end I go to visit my family who live in the village nearby, and they're having a kind of more ordinary type of life of the family gathering, eating in the summer, ice cream and all of this. And they say, so do you feel zen now? Do you feel zen? And sometimes, yeah, sure, you come out and you're like, you've washed away all of the tensions and you see clearly as far as you can see. And sometimes it's just brought up more challenges and more really interesting things that you didn't realize that you needed to attend to. Sometimes some wounds that you didn't know were there, that were festering in you. Some repressed stuff that you put away, and you come on a retreat and then suddenly, boom, boom, volcano, Sometimes not a volcano, sometimes a trickling out of something that needs attending to. So we don't always necessarily get Zen like in the pictures, And our process of meditating and how it fruits, we need to dive in and try the meditation, to experiment, to get a taste. As Ajahn Chah used to say, Ajahn Chah, who's the monk from the Thai forest tradition, that you can know an apple, you can know what an apple looks like, but unless you taste the apple, you don't know what apple tastes like, hey? So we really need to taste the meditation to know the fruit. But we can't control the outcome. When it will fruit, when the apple will be ready and drop and be good to eat. That is beyond us. It is out of our control. So we can give good conditions by coming to a retreat and meditating every day, or reading some Dharma and leading an ethical lifestyle and various things like this. But the fruit will mature when it matures. The fruit of practice. The fruit of everyday mindfulness, curiosity, gentle effort, loving kindness, this mix that we make. And I love the way Ajahn Chah, he was a very cheeky monk, I think. He used to provoke people a bit. I don't think we can do things like that nowadays. It wouldn't go down well. But he made a description of how our process in meditation works, and then what attitude we can have towards that. And he was like, it's like a fruit tree, So you can dig a hole for your fruit tree in the right place where there's not too much wind or not too much water that's going to stay stuck there and rot the roots. You could fertilize the ground around it. You can find out all about the right tree, and on the right day with the moon, you could plant the tree. You could say some prayers and some blessings and say some poems to it, water it and everything. But you don't know when that tree's really going to grow, when it's really going to take root and grow. That's entirely, it's up to the tree. Some other magic there. And so it is with our practice. So there's that finding the right effort to put in, to keep coming back to being present, moment by moment in our meditation. Keep gently coming back to presence. What is presence? What is groundedness? How do I feel that? But we can't control the process. And the realization of that, the realization that we can't control the process, is quite a large step in the right direction, because that dismantles our ego self. That dismantles our sense of me with everything turning around it as the center. It kind of strips it, dissolves it. That realizing that we cannot control when the fruit's going to drop. We can meditate. We can put a lot of good will in and energy. But the outcome is not within our control. And so it's feeling into our weather vane. You know these weather vanes, these things that are on the top of buildings? Sometimes they have a cockerel, that has the north, south, west, and then it blows in the different directions. So we know which way the wind is coming from. You know these things? So we can grow our own weather vane inside us. Feeling into, where am I nourishing something that's not helpful? Where am I nourishing something that is beneficial, that is wholesome and beneficial? And that weather vane is a huge part of Buddhist practice. We're calling it discernment. To cultivate our discernment. So we're coming back to, as I was saying last night, the Buddha's really very strong teaching was explore it and try it out for yourself. Don't believe what someone's telling you. So the more that we grow our own weather vane, our own discernment, the more we can feel in our meditation where to drop things, where to go more into things, where to go a bit, but also in our lives. So then we know if someone's a crazy guru, abuser, teacher, you get the hell out, because we have some discernment here. This really important part, which says, unwholesome, ciao, no. So we're not in an all-acceptance state of submitting to whatever's coming at us in life. We have this weather vane inside us. And from this, cultivating this, we can grow towards a confidence in ourselves. And this spiritual confidence in ourselves, in Pali, in the language of the time of the Buddha, is called saddha. It's a trust. So often there's words in Pali, and we could put maybe 2 or 3 different words of English into that word. And the ones that I know and resonate with this word saddha, which is the practice of saddha, are trust and dignity. So we're back to, as I was saying this morning, the cat, who prepares for the evening by curling its tail around and posing itself, seating itself in equanimity. And I'm sure that everybody would have different images that may come to mind from this saddha, this confidence that we can grow. Some for me are I don't know, maybe this is too much of an English word for non-English. Tendrils, tendrils? Like a fern, the plant, a fern in the forest that's got these like little things that uncurl. Or in the bottom of the ocean, when you see those funky ocean underwater movies and stuff, and there's those plants that are like this. or a willow, a willow tree that is so supple. The wind can blow as hard as it likes. A willow tree always has this kind of centeredness, this suppleness. But it's not a suppleness that people can just walk over you, that has no boundaries. It's a suppleness that has its own resilience. So in this sadha, this confidence in ourself and practice, trust, dignity, resilience, growing this. And it might start really tiny, with just a little echo, a little whisper of this dignity, trust. So we're trusting our own body wisdom. We're learning to listen to our body wisdom and trust it.